Good afternoon. This is Edward Thomas from the DC Anime Club. We're here with a new creator talking about his new publication that is coming out. Introduce you, sir.
How you doing? I'm Will Mapp.
How you doing?
All right.
Can you please tell us about this new endeavor?
Yeah, so Antidote is a comic book that stars Marty Dane. She's a journalist, and DC is the backdrop. One of the taglines is this a family recording, or is this so fuck boys and incels are a poison against women? I am the antidote. And so Marty Danes is the antidote that is the star of this book. This is a Washington DC comic book. We take lots of locations around town. We actually have the steps of the Library of Congress in town, a big view from there. The backdrop is Secret, Sex, and Lies. Political theater, a political thriller, and plus a little bit of espionage, as well as intimate, emotional situations.
Yeah, I've previewed it, and I thank you for allowing us to preview it.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of her stuff comes from her early trauma.
Yeah.
So explain that.
Yeah, so one thing that I've explored throughout my life is that you never know where people are and what actually happened in their lives to make them become the people that they actually are. And so Marty did experience an episode in her younger life, and that prompted her to always want to avenge women and to basically be a method of support that when the institutions fail us. And so in Antidote, when women have an issue and they really can't turn to the institutions, then they can turn to her. I have a lot of my friends are women, and I've had friends who work for the DC Rape Crisis Center. I've had friends that worked in social services, and so I would listen and they would talk about what they did. And so there are a lot of really good people out there, and sometimes the systems just don't work the way we want them to work. And so this idea has been around in my head for like 10 years, and I became prompted to actually start writing it and getting it illustrated.
Okay, that's great for a lot of people, and that's going to do well because it touches a lot of subjects that a lot of people are just now feeling comfortable to talk about. Also, reading the book, your character, is she part of the LGBTQ community?
Yes, so there are LGBTQ themes in here. I have lots of friends who feel like those stories aren't getting enough press in the spotlight, despite that there is a recent trend for more stories like that. I did have this test read to actually get a feel and make sure I got the right touch with the characters, and I'm hoping that people can actually relate to Marty and actually what some of her inner thoughts and inner demons are throughout the series.
Yeah, because when reading it, it felt more grounded than some of the other stuff. Some stuff lately has been, as people like to say, pushed or changed for no reason, when they would, instead of creating something new, fresh, with bright ideas, they will change the narrative of one character that has been established and just kind of take whatever they was doing and what they had already become and change it instead of creating something new and fresh. And a lot of people like you are flipping that narrative that they've been trying to push for a while.
Yeah, I think it's important, and I think people should be heard. And I think what happens a lot of times is you can kind of fetishize those ideas versus trying to deliver it from a perspective of how people are actually feeling about it. So I'm hoping that readers will get some of that when they read Marty's Adventures.
So when does your book actually hit the stores?
That's a fantastic question. So it is going to be in people's hands on Black Friday. We've actually had it up for pre-order for a while. This is my first time printing, so please don't be too hard on me. We had to get this thing recolored like 4 times.
Actually, the color is actually very nice. It's the wording is very direct in certain parts. You can follow the character's flow of speech of what they're trying to say. It's not jumbled. It's like when certain people bring out certain new books, it's too colluded because they're trying to do too much at once instead of telling a slow story that needs to be told?
So with this being a DC book, we really wanted to have a mix of different cultures, different personalities in here. I'm not from DC. My wife was born in DC, but since living here for 20 plus years, more than half of my life, I've always been intrigued by DC's mix of rich, poor, powerful, weak, able and non-able, and somehow this town makes it work, even though you had an incident today that didn't work out too well. I've always been fascinated by Washington D.C., and I'm hoping that some of my fascination gets translated to some of these pages. I've been to political fundraisers, and there've been a mix of people who had different things to say. And
yeah, same here. Being in the service, have an uncle that's retired colonel, invite him into some of the other features. It gets very catty in some of those places. They don't come out and say things directly. You have to hear with that inner ear.
Yeah.
And once you catch on hearing with that inner ear, you get to know a lot of stuff that's going on that they might not say, directly, but a lot of stuff is said overtly. And that is DC in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Like a couple of years ago, we had an issue with, like I said, the transplants coming in, targeting the local music. When you keep things grounded, will you have that aspect in the book too?
Yes. Like for instance, there's some dialogue in here. When I moved here as a country kid, what do you do? And so Marty responds, like, that's a very DC thing to say. And a lot of the back and forth, some of that I've heard some of that conversation. I've actually heard some of that conversation. I've had some of that relayed back to me. So as we start, expanding this series, like this is the Mikey series, the first 3 stories in the arc. You're going to see locations in town. You're also going to get language that was introduced to me, like Jonan, right?
Okay, do all of us a favor. Leave the word Mo out of that.
Oh, but you have to though. You have to. So there's a guy who connects people with information on U Street, and he's going to come out and step out, and he's going to be pure DC. And so you have to have that in a work like this.
All right. Well, in that case, that's going to be real interesting to read. And for those people that are not from the DC area, they're going to somewhat be traumatized trying to figure out what is this man trying to say. You might actually have to put in the back on the last page a breakdown of the different area languages, because the area languages change from northeast to southeast and stuff like that. And if you're
in the suburbs too, and the suburban,
and if you're incorporating in that, like in the old Marvel books, they used to have that index of breakdown. You might have to do that so people can actually follow, because sometimes people will get lost when they're not used to words that they're not used to hearing or reading people say. But as long as you can break it down towards the end at the end, and like a little glossary, I'm quite sure that will catch on a lot, because nobody does that now.
Fair enough. But see, I'm trying to capture that part of the town. Like in this town, we had Jumbo Slice. That was a scene. I had my illustrators. I took pictures of Colorama and up there in Adams Morgan, and they helped illustrate that. And so I got to bring in Mumbo Sauce as well. I gotta bring that in.
That's understandable. And I know the local readers will get it and understand it. But as far as a wider market, that's why I mean, just a little glossary in the back. This is what this word means, and that way the next time when they read it, they will have context of what it's for.
Absolutely.
All right, sir. Well, we thank you for coming down. Is any of your partners involved in your stuff, or they're just your friends? You want to introduce them?
I got backup for this today. So Byron Johnson, close friend, and Khalil Williams. There's always a story. So in the first couple pages of the book, we're at a fundraiser in Washington D.C., which is a natural thing. And Khalil, my friend works at Library of Congress, and I had some people in town. We wanted to show him a good time, and I asked Khalil, like, do you think you could give us like a quick tour? And Khalil took us underneath the tunnels and brought us in the Library of Congress, and so we took some liberties and we illustrated a scene there. You'll see the Neptune fountain also in this book as well.
Oh, that's great to have some of the actual details in the book that are actually in the cities that some people could reference and go, I know that spot. That actually brings, a little bit of, what's the word?
Authenticity.
There you go. brain farts early in the morning or afternoon. So how many issues do you think the first run is going to be? Because you said this is the first series?
Yeah, this is the first series. So thanks to modern technology, we don't have to really, put a large cap on that. We can do some demand type of printing. We have a collector's edition that's going to have a limited run of 100 copies. And so we've been really good friends with Blurcon. Blurcon has been friends with us. And so we do have a collector's edition for Blurcon that's limited to 100. For this one, I'm curious to see how it does. I saw the bill for the first run, and that's personal. I'm hoping that it does well. But we've been in touch with some of the local stores as well to carry it, and they seem enthusiastic. The reviewers that have reviewed it have been, giving us some really good feedback, and it seems like they like it. It's a matter of getting it in front of people and seeing what they think.
Okay, that sounds like a great idea. Just one more thing before we sign off. Towards the end or middle, which a lot of people will be interested in. Don't say the wording, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. When she opens the door towards the end, what do you think went through her head instead of just saying what she said? I seen it and I'm like, what's that? Or something, and it was the I hate to put it this way, but it was the most guyish comment.
So, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, don't say it. Let the person read it.
I'm not going to say it, but I had rewritten the last few pages of this thing several times. I had my wife read it, and I had reworded it several times. And I hate to say that this is by committee, but the last 2 pages were the best framing that was acceptable for a wide audience, for women and women who have different sexualities, and we tried. I rewrote that several times. Several times.
All right, so people, when the book comes out, when you read it, you will know exactly what we're discussing, and enjoy the book when it comes out. I thank you for stopping down and coming. This will be on the DC Anime page, YouTube page, and my page, which is Planet of the Nerds on YouTube, and I will get you a copy later.
Okay, and we'll share it as well.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, stop recording.